Cool. So recording. So hello everyone again. Just a quick update today. Not much to share, to be honest. We've been just working on coding and documenting things, and not much to share from my side, honestly. Just a brief update on the launch of AsyncAPI 2 release candidate number 1. So right now I named this release as release candidate, even though it hasn't been reviewed, but you know, so we start, at least we start the ball rolling, right? So for those who don't know, well, we launched the version 2. We finished all the features that we planned for version 2. So this is like, let's say, done. But we're opening a period now where people can review the spec and apply to real use cases, or ideally real use cases, and then shared feedback of how did it fits their needs and in production use cases, right? Right now, I'm pinging some people manually. I'm gonna start this week, pinging some people manually from different companies that have been in contact with me lately, and I'll also be opening the review period, which is already open, but you know, telling openly everyone, hey, you can come here and use this, the spec and let me know what you think. For instance, James Higginbotham already did. He already opened a bunch of issues all related to documentation, but they are actually important. And now that and regarding documentation, that's something that I wanted to clarify as well. Right now, the only thing that's done, let's say, is the spec. I know there's nothing to help anyone getting started with version 2. So I understand if none of you or no one, almost no one, want to review the spec, because it's hard, especially if you're new to AsyncAPI, which is most of the cases. So right now, also parallel to writing code and to doing some other stuff in marketing as well, I'm starting like a series of small tutorials or getting started guide. So from hello world to real use case, right? Or could be real use case. And I only have the hello world, to be honest. It's already done. It's already on the website repo. I added it to the website. So if any of you can please review, especially my wording and my English. I was not feeling inspired this day, so so that will be amazing. And also, if anyone has ideas on what to explain, what would be nice to have as a mini tutorial of something that takes like 5 minutes to read and to apply it somewhere, something that makes people understand how version 2 is done, that will be awesome. Like, so please, if any of you are interested in writing documentation or blog posts or tutorials, let me know.
Is there a good list that compares 1 and 2? So I brought this up in one of the channels that could help with, you know, some of the marketing, or you can start from version 2 and not have to have any previous knowledge of version 1?
Yeah, there's something. I mean, there's a changelog. I'm gonna share here. It's not much, but this is the kind of things that I'm talking about. Like, We now have the changelog, or it's the minimum thing. It would be nice if we could explain somehow, hey, so this is how you migrate from version 1 to version 2, or even provide the script at some point so you can run the script and migrate your version 1 documents to version 2. That would be amazing. But that's a separate thing. And regarding documentation, that would be awesome. Like we have the changelog with all the details. We also have the GitHub commit history, but this is, I don't recommend. I actually took this changelog from the GitHub commit history, and it can be a pain. So yeah, starting from this changelog, it would be nice to write something more consumable, let's say, right? And what else? Yeah, regarding features for version 2, there are still 2 things missing from that are not implemented in the spec because they are not part of the spec, but they're going to be part of version 2. So one is overlays. An overlay, for those who know RAML, it's a feature of RAML that is very useful. It allows you to overlay 2 AsyncAPI documents in this case. And so you can replace things, and this is very useful for translations or for API management solutions where you have to change certain things in the document on the fly at the runtime. So this kind of things. And the other one that's missing is extensions catalog. So extensions catalog is something that we're still drafting how it's gonna work, but ideally it will be like a central repository for people to publish and consume all the specification extensions, you know, those that start with X dash whatever, right? Obviously it's not mandatory, like you can have an X dash extension which is not on the central repository or in the catalog. But if we could have a place where we can share these extensions, that would be awesome. Plus, because that helps standardizing things that the specification doesn't provide yet, and that will help us as well understand how people are using AsyncAPI and what they want to do with AsyncAPI, and probably incorporate things in version 3, right? So that's the whole idea. Plus, then there's something new called protocol info objects, and this is protocol-specific information, which is not part of the spec, but the spec provides a way for you to specify this protocol-specific information, and these are going to be on the catalog as well. So in the catalog, you will have specification extensions, X dash whatever, and protocol info objects, which we will provide at least the most common protocols, right? Like Kafka, HTTP, WebSockets, and all of this. So this is basically what's missing. There's not much. It's a lot of work. That's why I left it out. Like, okay, this is not related to the spec directly, so let's keep it aside. And so we can release sooner, right? So the roadmap, regarding the roadmap for the AsyncAPI version 2 release, that's not clear. I mean, I have the milestones clear, but I don't have the times clear, and I explain why. So right now we open the review period, but we don't know yet how many feedback we're gonna receive, right? And how many things we will have to change from the spec because of this feedback. Because we don't know, we will see. Obviously, there's a deadline if you want. I'm planning to have. I was planning to have May 1st as the deadline, but it may be too soon. I don't know. Let's see. Depends on how the feedback is. If there are many things that will require changing the spec completely, right? Then in this case, we will have to wait more. We will have to postpone it. But I would like, as James said once, is that version 2 of AsyncAPI is going to be out for quite some time. Let's make sure that it is good enough. So let's not stress here. So what I'm doing, what I'm planning to do actually is that for version 2 announcement that I mentioned in previous calls, instead of announcing version 2, we're gonna announce the version 2 release candidate. Okay, so we can grab more people to get more feedback. That shouldn't be so different. Like we can actually say this is version 2 because in the end, I don't think it's gonna change so much. By the way, we're announcing version 2 on the week of May 18, or the week after. Not yet decided. I'm talking to some people on that will take care of the marketing, and yeah, we will decide because we will have KubeCon Europe here in Barcelona happening. So we'll take advantage of people coming to Barcelona and record a series of videos so we can have some material for marketing, right?
Yeah. And right before that, you have the Nordic API Summit in Austin. And so maybe you could have some, teaser content since, before KubeCon, just an idea.
Yeah, and at the same time of the Austin event is the Kafka Summit in London, which is an important one for messaging, right? I was planning on announcing it on Kafka Summit, but I'm not sure if I will be able to do it or not yet. So I'll tell you more on the following weeks. But I think it's a good idea, and probably even though we might want to announce it for KubeCon Europe, we will want to announce it before, right? So when people come to Barcelona, they already know about it, right? Because if you announce it during KubeCon Europe, most probably the announcement will get lost on all the media noise produced by this by Google, right? During those days, and probably if people know about it, it will be too late to schedule a call with them or to schedule a meeting here in Barcelona with them, right? So that's why I'm gonna take advantage of people coming to Barcelona and announce it before, so I can take advantage of that, of scheduling meetings here in Barcelona and probably video recordings, interviews and this kind of stuff. So on too many fronts. Regarding tooling, so today, great news is that today I managed to compile the parser that we created in Go, or at least what we have so far. I compiled the parser for many different platforms, say Windows, Linux, and even Android and iOS, but I'm not gonna put any effort there yet. So things are progressing well. I'm also almost done with the grabber, with the Node.js grabber around this C library. This C library that is produced from the Go library. It sounds like a very complicated, but you will see it's not. And on top of that, I have a friend of mine who's going to be joining the team in the next weeks. He's an expert in Go, so he will be able to help us much better. He's already doing some stuff, but he will be joining the next call for sure. And he's probably, I mean, I asked him, depends on the time he has. He's gonna be taking the lead on the tooling development. So yeah, I'll introduce him next week, just for you to know. It's so things. I'm trying to make things move faster and so they don't depend so much on me, right? Otherwise, it would be like very slow and very egocentric stuff that I don't like. Cool. So also, now that I'm talking about egocentric stuff, I would like to stop doing this kind of meetings. I'm not saying I would like to stop doing the meetings, but I would like to have you participate more, right? Instead of just me jumping here and saying blah 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 blah, you know, with telling all my stuff. I know that, yeah, I'm working on this full time, and probably I will be the one having more things to share. That's fine, but you know, I wanted to become a community project, and so let me know what do I have to do for you to participate, to make it easy to participate and yeah, to jump to these calls and communicate something to the rest of the group. So I think Michael has some stuff to tell us, right, Michael?
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yeah, very low, but.
Oh yeah, I'll try and turn it up a bit. I'm using a different headset this time, and I don't have a camera today. I'm sorry, but okay. So I haven't done too much yet, but what I did do a couple of nights ago, I forked a bunch of the repos. I got into the parser project and just tried to get that up and running, and it was remarkably easy. You know, I just noticed, yeah, I had a couple of missing packages. I just had to run the go get command on 3 things, and then it just worked. So, you know, there wouldn't be much there to put in for developer documentation. I guess, you know, if somebody's working on that one, presumably they know Go well enough to know how to install Go and fetch packages that are missing. So I didn't really find any issues really worth documenting yet, but I'll go through the other repos one by one and see if there's, you know, anything that's worth documenting. I guess the question I have though is that what level of understanding do you expect people to have when they get into it? Like, for example, a Go project, do they, you know, should there be a short paragraph about how to install Go, or do you just assume that, hey, if they're there, they already know that stuff, you know?
So I will right now. It all depends on the priorities, right? I will not spend so much time right now documenting how to install Go and all these things. Like we can assume that someone using the Go parser knows how to use Go, because 100% of these people will be just us for now. So I'll probably put more effort in developing the parser, but but documentation wise, yeah, maybe explaining how the parser is structured or what's the architecture used. I think I actually added the technical proposal to document to the repo. But yeah, adding some stuff like just how to install it and how to make it work. I mean that will be fine. It all depends on your preference actually. Like if you prefer to be writing documentation now, it's okay. I think it's a good idea.
Maybe maybe from my perspective, and I try to. I'm coming from a JavaScript world, right? So Node.js and so on, and I tried to get going with a parser project, and I actually failed. And it was really about how to install these packages. I mean, I was looking for something like npm, which makes these kind of challenges very easy in the JavaScript world, and I actually couldn't find anything. I think these kind of hints would be actually quite useful.
Yeah, I think it's because when at the time you get involved, there wasn't Go modules in the project yet. It was very early stage in the project. Okay. It still is, but it was like, I think it was the second day or something like that.
Ah, okay.
So there was literally anything. We now have Go modules. Go modules is something that's built into Go. So you don't need anything else separately. You just run Go run or Go build, and it will take all the dependencies for you. Okay. And that's already there, so it will work. And if I recall correctly, you were trying to do the resolve and the reference, right? So there's a guy already working on that who's an expert in Go. So yeah, I think this is a huge challenge. It's not an easy one, even for him. That his experience.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of stuff already in for OpenAPI specification in JavaScript. I think to look into this and look into the algorithms that they basically implemented, I think this would be a good starting point.
Yeah, no, we have this. We took this into account. The problem is that, and probably we will deliver a Node.js version soon, a parallel Node.js version 2. But the problem is that if we want to generate the parser for many languages, and that's what we want right now, because people are asking for the parser in Java or in PHP, you know, and many languages, we cannot afford with the size of our project to code the same thing in many languages. And then
no, I get the idea why using Go. I get this. What I'm trying to say was actually looking into these kind of implementations and basically adapt their way of how they implemented the algorithm, or which algorithm they actually implemented, and then basically do the same thing in Go. Because I saw some discussions where you can do a kind of global change or these kind of stuff, right? And I think there are some quite good JavaScript libraries to look into how they did it.
Yeah, no, actually, Ruben, who's the guy in charge of this, he's looking at the JavaScript library, okay, because it's actually the best one right now, so it makes sense. And just for the record, the other day I was playing a little bit with the generator, which is the one who generates the documentation and the code, and just to see how difficult it will be to adapt it to version 2. And it took me like I don't know, like 2 or 3 hours to have something decent with Node.js. This is done in Node.js. It took me, yeah, like 2 or 3 hours. Obviously, missing some features from version 2, but the same feature set from version 1, I was able to replicate it on version 2 very easily. So that's most probably what we will provide initially for people to use it on the editor as well, right? So we can have more time to develop a proper solution for many languages, right? Because, for instance, in the case of Go, the problem that you find that you don't have in Node.js is that many things you need to do many things by yourself, right? There are no packages solving the problem for you. most of the challenges are like, okay, you have to tackle the challenge yourself. So yeah, that was a problem. So Michael, regarding so you were working on the can you refresh my mind? This is developer guide.
Yes,
Okay.
yes. And like I said, so far there wasn't really much to discuss about the parser. You know, getting up and running, that was really easy. So didn't have any issues there. But if you like, I'll look at the other repos one by one and see what it takes to get to the point where you can, you know, edit code, build it, run it. Unless there's something more urgent or important that you want me to work on, it's up to you.
Fine. Actually, to be honest, I think the most valuable thing that people can do right now, people joining the project, I will say, is documenting their experience. Like,
Okay.
so you found a little bit of friction here and there, or the problem is that I'm not so used to messaging, which I don't think is your case since you work at Solus, right? But I'm not familiar with messaging, and that's a problem. Or I'm coming from OpenAPI and I'm expecting things in a different way. I don't know. That's why I wanted to write all these articles, but it's very important for me to understand how can I help you help the project, right?
Yeah.
It's
Once I get more familiar with all the code in the repos and stuff, and then I think I'll have a clearer picture of how I could contribute. So maybe, you know, give me another week to learn more. And
yeah, but this is itself a challenge, right? Because everything seems like to be like spread around, and you don't have a central place where you can you don't have like a catalog of or a guide like hey, you should come here to learn about AsyncAPI first, and then play it a little bit, and now go there and develop this tool or use this tool. But a place,
yeah, well,
anything, right?
yeah, that sounds valuable in itself. You know, I could work on that. Just having sort of an overall guide to, you know, what's in each repo, which ones do you need to use, what do they do, how do you work with them?
And I will not dive too much into tooling right now, because the state of the tooling currently is very poor, and we're just starting with that. So I will not worry about so much about it, but more about probably about the specification itself, like so how to understand the specification, right?
Right.
Because the specification is like a very long document that nobody wants to read. I mean, I never have read the whole document myself. I go from time to time to one piece and read it and fix things. I've never sit down and start reading from top to bottom, right? Because it's huge and it's boring. It's a reference, right? It's not. It's like reading a phone guide, right? so it sounds like it's hard to read.
Yeah, so maybe like a commentary on the specification, like a guide to the specification, could be helpful.
How to read the specification as well, right? How to consume it. That's exactly what I'm doing. What I was mentioning before about the Hello World example. There's a pull request. I'm not sure. I think I asked it for you, but I'm not sure. And for instance, this kind of thing is like, okay, so it's your first time here, go to the Hello World example, so you understand how it's everything, then go to the next one and how to add a little bit more, and then how to add a little bit more, and you know, and you start from there. Otherwise, it's overwhelming. It's people just come here and say, oh yes, I am more or less understand what AsyncAPI is, but I have no idea. and because right now the online editor is not yet supporting version 2, it's even harder, right? Because at least with version 1, you can go to the editor and play a little bit, and then you figure out how things work. But right now, you don't have anything, just the spec. So yeah, it's more or less that. Is there anything else that you could see that we can change the way we're doing, improve? I mean,
well, I'll keep that question in my mind over the next couple of weeks while I dig in deeper.
I mean, and not just about documentation or tooling or,
Sure.
overall, right? Like the way we do these meetings or the way we communicate in Slack. I don't know, you, Fran, you're doing too many things and you're not communicating properly. Okay, whatever, right? Just let me know, because sometimes I'm here in my bubble and I try to break the bubble, but sometimes it's hard, especially remote, right? So yeah.
Okay, good.
Thanks, man.
Yeah, and I was gonna write a documentation, write an article for D-Zone, and it is the proper way to, more like a promotional and to explain async API to external folks. Should I put that draft in the doc channel in Slack and have everyone take a look at it, or is there another way that the group prefers?
You don't have to. It's your article in the end, right? But I will recommend so. Right?
Okay. Yeah, I just want you guys to check the accuracy. So.
Yeah, I mean, I will be glad to review it. So please do it. I'll review it.
It would be nice to have links to these articles if there are other existing ones, so that newcomers could read them and get up to speed, from different perspectives like that.
Yeah, but right now we have, there are a few, especially on Nordic API's blog, but that can be counterproductive if you want to get started, because some of them were pre-version 1, then others were during version 1, and that can be highly confusing for people, right? And now we introduce version 2, and it's like, okay, but wait, what's version 1? What's version 2? Pre-1, I don't understand. Nothing works, right?
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah.
That's why I'm trying to actually, ideally, I would like to get rid of all the documentation for version 1, right? So this is like it has never existed, right? Obviously, blog posts you can't and you shouldn't, but yeah, focus on the feature, because otherwise we will have to maintain something that nobody's going to use, and that's undesirable. So yeah, but having at least to have a place where we can start adding these articles from now on, even if there are not so much.
Yeah, we can always remove the obsolete ones from the list.
I can share what's already published for version 1 on Nordic APIs. There are, I think, 3 articles. So yeah. Cool. Is there anything else?
I guess with stream data, now they're part of us. Yeah. It sounds like they're wanting to work more with you, and so I'm going to try to encourage them to use this open source model so that there's kind of more visibility for what's happening. So I'm just going to encourage them to use Slack and to attend and to contribute in the open source way. Is that a good idea?
Yeah, for sure. I mean,
okay.
everyone's welcome. Like, if we can all work in the same place, especially on the Slack and GitHub, that would be amazing. Otherwise, I will have to be, that's exactly what I was telling before. Sometimes I do stuff and I might not be communicating everything, because I have like too many open channels at the same time. People reaching to me by email or Twitter messages or right, and it's a mess. So yeah, maybe it's a good idea to try to make people go this central channel, or as you said, the open source way, right? Another idea that came to my mind before, would it help to do some kind of hackathon, something like that, all together at the same time? I don't know, just raising ideas in case you want to get up to speed and solve a lot of questions and doubts. Maybe that will help. What do you think about it?
Like a hackathon thing, you mean?
Yeah. Just like during one day or a few hours, or
Yeah, or people
maybe.
even contribute asynchronously too, because I definitely want to learn more and learn faster.
Yeah. And Davis, Michael.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, I'm open to trying it.
Because sometimes I don't do these kind of things because I don't want to steal time from you. Like everyone has family, friends, and other and job as well. So it's
scheduling might be a challenge. That's true.
So that's why, but we can do it like, I don't know, we can schedule it for I don't know 1 hour or 1 month from now, and so everyone is everyone can make sure that they have time. But yeah, if that helps, I'm happy. I'm happy to do it. Like we do it for, I don't know, we do some kind of hackathon for 6 hours if we want, and or 4 hours, and so we can all help each other and learn basically, and get all the things fixed. Little things, right?
We could try it, sure.
Yeah. Because I mean, the async way, it's fine, but as long as you know very well the whole project and you know everything already, right? So yeah.
Yeah, and sometimes it's just a short goal. So for example, I've been learning Go just at the very beginning, and I went to kind of a casual hackathon with Women Who Code, and they had about 8 different kinds of experts there on different topics. And so I had specific things I wanted to learn in Go, and so for 3 hours I was able to work on that, and it was very focused, and I was able to get the things done that I wanted to. So maybe it's something like that, where it's each person comes with a couple or even just one goal, and it's maybe just 2 hours. It could be a short thing. It doesn't have to be too long.
Yeah, sounds good. Yeah. Okay, so maybe if you had to propose right now a topic for this hackathon, what would you like to learn?
Geez, I don't know. It's too early for me to say things like that right now, I think, to answer that. I still don't know enough to have a clear opinion on that yet.
So that's itself a thing, right? Like
yeah,
just
sort of generally how to get started.
Yeah, okay. And what about you, Emily?
Yeah, I think I feel the same as Michael. I mean, I'm coming at it from pretend I'm an API product manager, and typically everything is centered around a spec, right? That's the single source of truth, and pretend I'm an API product manager and I'm able to write some epics and features and stories so that my hypothetical development team can create and or consume the spec. So that's the angle that I'm looking at it from, is helping the business side adopt be champions for and adopt the spec, because it's so technical that I'm trying to understand how to communicate the business value. And I think there's, so much business value, and I'd like to get better at communicating that and showing that with, real examples and pairing the business side with the architectural, which everyone involved is really good at the architectural, and I hope I can contribute to, the use cases and evangelize about them.
Sounds good. Will it help for you to have something like a use case, like a real use case we could work on?
Yeah, and with
not real, but a fake one, but something that could actually be real, and something that and we work on that. Like we work on all the details on how to document this use case. Probably see it working using some command line tools or something to see the messages flowing from one side to the other. I don't know, seeing it live, right? And then from that we start working on the business value. Like, okay, I now understand how things work in messaging. Now we can focus on the business value.
Yeah, and I actually have a couple because of the Stream Data Axway, the acquisition, they talk about streaming and how real time does it need to be, right? So there's financial trading aspects, and there's kind of some standards that you have to meet globally, but then you might not need as real time of a streaming for other situations, such as some social aspects. And so there's kind of like this spectrum of use cases. Some are more critical for maybe healthcare type functions and financial, but then you might have some less critical ones.
Sounds good. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I think I'm getting a better idea now of what should the effort be put in, right? Because right now I'm probably focusing too much on people who already know about AsyncAPI, but this is a new project, so we should focus on people just like you are right now. You're getting started, right? So you want to get started with technical side or the business side of it, and yeah.
Yeah, I try to explain to everyone that, this Google Home or, Lambda function, these are related to AsyncAPI. That's kind of the gate, I call it like gateway drug, or the entry point for the common person to say, oh, why should I care about AsyncAPI? Oh, did you know IoT? You need this kind of messaging APIs to be able to have successful IoT ecosystems, for example.
Yeah. No, there is definitely IoT and game development, and all of them, and microservices as well, right?
Yes.
All of the three use a lot of message passing technology, like Solaz, for instance. Michael, who works for Solaz.
Yes.
Solaz is a broker, like.
Yeah, we have lots of documented use cases on our website, and
they're beautiful too. That's one thing I like about it. It's very modern, and it's very nice.
Yeah.
Congratulations to the design team. I already told Jonathan once that congratulations to the design team, UX, UI UX team, because it's fantastic user experience. Honestly, I didn't have the chance yet to use it in production, so I cannot speak so much about the value in production. But at least the user experience has been very, very good.
Sorry, the experience of what? What are you talking about here?
The user experience, the interface, everything, learning.
Of what?
Of Solaz.com when you enter.
Oh, I see. Yeah. Okay.
Funnel and everything, right? Your admin area. I don't know how you call it. When you enter there and you try to create things, and it's very intuitive. very cool.
Oh, you mean the web interface to our brokers itself, you mean? Is that what you're talking about? Or
it's when you have to create a broker, and then you have to generate code, for instance, and everything explained there, how to generate code for, or how not generate code, how to connect from
right
Java or whatever. Everything is like
really cool. That team did that pretty well. Have you seen Jonathan Schabowsky's white paper on service events, like the event mesh, as we call it?
Yeah, but I keep seeing the ad. So
yeah, you should read it because that's a really powerful sort of, I guess, a paradigm of event-driven architecture that we think, you know, could be a much better way of connecting microservices than REST, and it you know, really centers around messaging. So you know, there's some great examples in there. So
and actually we could probably start from the use cases that you have at Solas.com, all the use cases that you have explained there on your own documentation, and probably we can go through them and document them to using AsyncAPI or doing examples, if that makes sense. I have never seen that. Just following what Emmelyn said before, that there are a lot of examples there in use cases. Probably we could take them and document it with AsyncAPI, right?
Yeah, I would love to learn. And I think we're doing something very similar as well with the Amplify platform. And so, Fran, I think you and Laura Heritage had talked about that before. And so we can, you know, bring these together to the project.
Oh, you have to tell me about the Amplify project. I don't know what that is.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, it's similar. It's basically, you know, event-driven, and it has that mesh architecture. And so I'm interested to seek and learn, you know, the difference between the two.
Right.
I just got a message from Jonathan.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah. So from Jonathan Schabowsky.
Yeah, is he the one that wrote the Architect's Guide to Event-Driven Microservices? Is that the one?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, that's a very good white paper.
I think he's joining now, but I'm not sure. He's joining the call now. It's late. Because of this change for the time in Europe and the US, you know, that has been a mess. So yeah, well, in case Jonathan doesn't join the call, at least to say goodbye, I would like just to say that Jonathan, we've been speaking about you, so please check this video. So yeah, I think I'll do that. I'll work on getting more introductory material, so you guys can learn, right, and start from the very minimum. I know that you're not starting from the very minimum, but let's assume that that you are. So it will be good for you.
Sure.
Cool. So anything else you want to cover?
Not me.
I think you covered everything, Fran. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Jonathan is joining. He's doing. Okay, let's wait for him. Hello.
Awesome.
Just for the sake of.
Oh, there he is. Hi, Jonathan.
What I was telling you about Jonathan, you know, this guy doesn't really know what he's doing, but he's not listening nice.
Hey guys, sorry for being so late.
So you're 1 hour late, man.
Or I'm 7 minutes early.
Yeah. Excellent. Okay, now we were just about to finish, and we were just waiting for you so we could say hello and goodbye.
Awesome. Hey, I see one friendly name there, Michael Davis.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I put in a plug for you for your white paper on event mesh, so encouraging Fran to read that. I think Emmelyn already has.
Okay.
Hi, Jonathan. I'm Emmelyn, and I work for Axway, and we just acquired Stream Data. And so, very nice to meet you.
Yeah, nice meeting you. And yeah, we definitely, your acquisition made the rounds definitely in Ottawa. So.
Ah, okay. So you're based in Canada.
Well, I work for the CTO's office. I actually am in Salt Lake City, Utah. So
Oh, got it. Okay. Yeah.
most others are in Ottawa. So.
Okay.
I'm in Ottawa, yeah. Headquarters.
Oh, that's great. Okay. Yeah, we're the same. Our CTO sits in Austin. Our headquarters is in Phoenix, and we used to be based out of France.
Oh, wow. And where are you then?
I'm in Texas.
Okay, awesome.
Cool, folks. So, yeah, Jonathan, I encourage you to watch the video because at some point we talk about you. So,
yeah, I'll watch with perked ears then. So.
Cool. So the summary of the call, I will say, is that we need to get better on documenting getting started, right? How to get started with the AsyncAPI, with not just with the messaging APIs, but with AsyncAPI itself, right? Because some people are also new to messaging. So
yeah.
So yeah, and one suggestion that I was saying is that at Solaz you might have some use cases on the website or in your documentation that we can probably use them to create AsyncAPI files of these use cases, right?
Yeah.
That makes sense because I have never seen it. I'm just guessing here.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Well,
Yeah, I guess I do. Oh, go ahead.
You can go.
So I did have one short thing. I'll be speaking at API Days in Singapore, and that starts off the whole round of the API Days tour. So I'll definitely talk about AsyncAPI and make sure I'm on the same page with this group, that I'm introducing it properly. Over there, they've got a lot of kind of open banking standards and heavy in the financial sector. And so, I would like to mention Async there. So I just thought I would, that's April 9th. Well, sorry, I'll be leaving April 19th, and I'll be there that whole week. So I just thought I would mention that.
Yeah, so, okay, so that's good. And maybe we could help you with that as well. So so our biggest office actually outside of Ottawa is in Singapore.
What? Wow.
Yeah. Well, so our background, if you didn't know anything about Solace, like our by far biggest industry is financial services. So like Citi, Barclays, Standard Chartered. So we have a big office in Singapore because of financial services, and so our head actually field sales engineering is in Singapore. So he could even help if you want, to provide some additional financial services context into the eventing space. Like it looked like, your guys' acquisition is obviously even just way different than like what we do from a Sol's perspective. So
it is, yes.
So I know we had actually talked to your partnership team before at Axway about, doing something, related to event driven in this space as well. So I don't think that should affect any of that anyway. But yeah, like we definitely are chock full of financial services use cases that I think AsyncAPI would be applicable to.
Okay, yeah, because we're even running a technical workshop, and my colleague who is speaking at the Redis conference right now in San Francisco, I would like for us to meet with Solace folks in Singapore, because he's based out of Singapore, and it would be great if we can just partner together for the sake of async, right?
Yeah, definitely, absolutely. So yeah, let me maybe send out an email introducing you to Sunit Puri, who's our head of field sales and globally, but again, he's in Singapore, and then hopefully you guys could like meet up over there.
Sure. And then I don't know if I'm saying his name correctly, Jeremy Meese.
Yep.
He's your new head of
Community.
Yes. And so he's really awesome. And so just knowing that he's over there at Solace, makes me very glad for that.
Yeah, he's actually at Confluent conference, the Kafka conference in New York this week. So,
okay.
An interesting one for us. So, given we tend to compete against them, but also we have a Kafka connector, so it's kind of a pleasant.
Oh, I see. Okay.
We're recording.
Yep. No, all good. Yeah, so I think so Jeremy joined our team a couple weeks ago, and yeah, he's got the charter of getting a real dev community, around our product really stood up. So.
Awesome. Well, I look forward to seeing everyone on Slack and chatting further. So thank you.
Yeah, definitely.
Cool. Thanks, folks, for joining today. Let's keep chatting. And, I'm always available in case you need something, okay?
Good. Thank you.
Yep. Thank you, Fran. Have a great day or evening.
Bye.
Ciao.